Ooh, radio voice. Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by talking about FPV drones, what FPV drones are, and why you might want to fly them. For those of you who are interested in drones in general, I want to share this clip from the recent episode of the foXnoMad podcast with Mike from DroneSupremacy. We talk a lot about drones and drone tech in general, but especially FPV and why he is getting more and more into FPV drones these days, why FPV is a market that you should be aware of if you're interested in droning in general, and what it means for the upcoming regulations and the just general state of drones in 2021. We talk a little bit about DJI being labeled a national security concern in the US by the Department of Commerce. We talk about what DJI's plans might be for the upcoming year in 2021. And we talk plenty of drone rumors coming up, as well as about Mike's YouTube channel and how he's grown his audience on the platform. I think for those of you who are interested in tech in general, you're going to really enjoy this clip. I'll leave a link to the full episode down in the description box below. But for now, here's a clip with Mike from DroneSupremacy. All right, and there we go. Hi, Mike.
Hello, and Happy New Year.
You too, thanks. And it's nice to talk in person, virtually, I guess, because we've kind of been in the same part of the world, like, close. I think there was
So there was a moment we were really close to actually meeting each other here in Varna, right? But it couldn't happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, hopefully when the world gets more normal.
Yeah, I would love to. Actually, this year is starting off very, very strongly. I promised myself that I will put an effort into making more collaborations and connect with more people, and it's my second podcast or live stream or whatever you want to call it in less than 2 weeks, and I'm meeting more people, and it's crazy how things are working out when you put out your ideas out there, and people are really appreciating that, and they respond, and it's a real pleasure to finally do something like this. We've been talking for a while, so I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, I think it's one of the coolest things. And you've really sort of created this community around droning, which I find fascinating because I love drones. I'm a big into drones, but you're light years ahead of me in terms of you being into the drone world. I mean, what got you started into that?
Well, just the different angles, I suppose. It was just so fascinating for me to see the world as I know it in a new light, especially my hometown. I've been living here my whole life, except for a couple of years going abroad. But for the most part, I've been living here at the same place, and being able to see it in a totally different way because of drones made me really fall in love with that different perspective. So that's how it all started. But then it got me even more excited to travel and see more places. And, it all went from there.
Yeah. And Bulgaria is one of those countries that even now still, but in the beginning, it was, I think, one of the best places in the world to drone. Because
it still is because of we don't have very strict rules even now. But we will, maybe even this year. They have already started rolling out these new laws and regulations. So it will start to get a little bit more strict. But yeah, as of right now, it's still a little bit more relaxed compared to other countries. That's for sure.
Yeah, I remember just walking around in Sofia, and just seeing there would be like a couple DJI Sparks just flying around. I remember when that was happening.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah, that happens all the time.
So, but what are you flying with now? What's your drone of choice?
I'm currently flying with the Mavic Air 2 when it comes to camera drones. But to be honest, I haven't flown much lately with this drone. I have a couple of DJI drones, but the thing is, I'm so focused on FPV nowadays that I rarely get to fly my camera drones just because they feel so boring when you jump from FPV drone to a regular drone. They move so slow. Yeah, they are very smooth, and for photography, you can't really beat them. But for video making, which I'm mostly about videos, it's just a little bit more boring to explore new places from such a slow drone compared to FPV, because it's so much more exciting. And I actually mentioned that in a video that I still haven't released, but I'm excited for a new Mavic, for example. Let's just say the Mavic 3 Pro or whatever they want to call it. This hopefully this will make me excited about flying a camera drone once again, because now, when it comes to photography, of course I will grab this drone, but if it's for a regular video, I will always pick the FPV drone first, just because it offers so much more. And with better cameras like the GoPro 9, for example, the quality isn't such so it's not so different compared to Mavic 2 Pro or any other Mavic out there. So they're really catching up very quickly. And it's very different. It's a unique angle or perspective that you can offer, and for me it's a lot more exciting to watch videos captured on FPV compared to regular camera drones, just because nowadays everyone has a camera drone, and it gets boring watching other people's videos. But for FPV, maybe I'm still not there yet, but I haven't felt bored watching FPV, especially when it's made right, in a cinematic way, when it's not jerky and going all over the place. It's exciting for me. So that's mostly what I'm flying right now. It's mostly FPV, but I'm trying to push myself to get back to maybe more photography and more, the videos that I'm known for on YouTube. More people have been enjoying those for a longer period of time. So I'm trying to kind of force my creativity go into that direction again, because I know it's something that people want to see on my channel as well. And I don't want to just force them into this FPV world that not everyone necessarily wants to go in. So I'm trying to find the balance between the two right now.
And for people listening, how would you describe the difference between? There's a huge difference, I think, between FPV and just your typical Mavic drone. How
Yeah.
would you break down that difference?
Well, the main thing is that um, you can't have a second of not doing anything when it comes to FPV. You can't let go of the sticks. You can't not think about where you want to go next. You're always thinking, you're always planning the next move of your drone, because unlike camera drones like DJI drones, you can't just let go of the sticks and the drone will not hover in one place. It will continue to crash if you let go of the sticks. So you will need to constantly think about that, and that makes it that much more exciting, or adrenaline, full of adrenaline. So the difference would be to compare, how to say, like a fighter jet to a Boeing, a regular passenger plane. So you can go in any direction you want. You can do all sorts of stunts if you want to. You don't have to, but you can if you want. And you can fly smoothly and slowly if you want. But anytime you push the throttle all the way up, you can do crazy things. So it's like the difference between a Ferrari and an old car, which cannot go very fast.
I've been thinking about getting to FPV because I've been seeing so many videos about it. The shots you can get. So it's, especially if you have using a headset, and I think that's how most
Yeah,
people. And so you have
you
this
need to.
your first person view, and I've just seen, like in valleys and canyons and just through trees, just flipping around,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it just looks amazing for the shots you can get, but it also looks very, very, very difficult.
It is. I cannot lie. It is difficult, but I would say it's only difficult in the beginning, when until you master the basic controls, and unless you're doing stupid things, it's not as hard as most people think it is. Because once you master the rotation of the drone and how it can turn, then it's all up to you to experiment. You don't have to always go through tight gaps and tight spaces. You can fly, like you mentioned, in the mountains or near canyons and stuff like that, where there aren't that many obstacles. So it's up to you to maneuver the drone in the space. But as long as you know the basic controls, you'll be fine. From then on, it's just a matter of practicing more and more and more, and trying out different and more difficult maneuvers until you get them right. The thing is, most people jump straight into the hard things because they've seen so many videos and they think they can do the same straight away, which is not the case, unfortunately. But as long as you educate yourself and don't expect too much straight away, I think it's pretty doable, because it was hard for me as well, and I wouldn't really say I'm good at it yet. I'm not good compared to many other people, but I'm learning as I grow. So it's pretty doable if you put the time and effort, because it's just the entry level. It's not the same as getting a Mavic from the store and going and recording a cinematic footage straight away. It takes a little bit more time, but it's so much more worth it, in my opinion, because you've invested a lot of time to learn this, and after that it's gives you a great pleasure when you actually make a really good shot.
And it seems like, with FPV, crashing is common. Like I just
Oh
see.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It's pretty common now. I would say it happens. Well, again, it depends how you plan to fly, but usually I don't crash too often. But that's because I fly a little bit more carefully, and also with the cinematic style in my head. So I try to fly smoothly. I try to not go very quickly, and that helps you not crash too much. But as soon as you try those harder maneuvers that are more in, like the freestyle pilots do, freestyle is like getting a small area and going through all the possible gaps, and doing all sorts of stunts, and that's where you start crashing, because it takes a lot of precision, which if you don't have it straight away, you need to learn from crashing, and it's unavoidable.
And it seems like, FPV drones are more resistant to crashing. In other words, like you can
Absolutely.
crash them, and,
Yeah.
I've crashed so many Mavics that, that it doesn't end up, there's
Yeah.
really no such thing as kind of a minor crash,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but for FPV, like how would you jump into it? Or what's the first drone someone should get, or, how should they start?
Well, nowadays they offer all sorts of pre-built drones. I started a year ago, roughly 1 year ago, and since then, many companies have popped up offering different pre-built configurations, which is great because they're high quality. They are not, a bunch of cheap parts just put together. There are actually good options out there, and I would advise anyone who is looking to get into FPV to get a pre-built drone first, just so they can start flying straight away and not worry too much about components and different parts and which part should I choose, because it's another world of reading and asking questions all the time, because there's so many things you need to consider. So for me, at least the thing that I did was just I bought a pre-built drone, and I got into a community of FPV pilots here in my city, and by flying with them and also watching them crash and watching myself crash, I learned a lot about the parts which were inside the drone. And that made me save a little bit of time, so I can learn a little bit quicker compared to, let's say, if I started from scratch. Because maybe it was a little bit intimidating for me to build it on my own. So I started flying with this pre-built one, but that also, like I said, saved me a little bit of time, and that made it possible for me to meet those people in the FPV community here, that they were very, very helpful, and that I think that just made the whole process a little bit easier for me. So inevitably, when you crash, you'll need to change some of the parts anyway. But since you're already in that world and you already know some people, they can teach you how to do things, and they can show you some tutorials, or they can do it and you can watch them. It's whatever fits. But for me, I think the best way is to just buy one and start flying straight away, because there's so much to learn.
And the typical build. So when you buy one, with everything pre-built, it's the headset. Is it going to come with that, and then the camera?
It's really up to you. Nowadays, they offer everything separately or in a bundle. You can choose whatever you want. But for the most part, people buy a remote first so they can start practicing on a simulator. That's the number one thing that you should do before ever trying FPV in real life, because it's really dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, you might hurt someone or yourself. So it's better to invest a little bit of time into a simulator, maybe 15, 20 hours. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not. If you put like 1 hour a day into the simulator, in 2 weeks or three, you will be ready to, you'll have those basic skills. You'll know how to pilot the drone, to make it fly in a straight line or to make some turns, the basic things. And from then on, you can start flying in real life. But it's really up to you. After you get the remote, you can buy the goggles, you can buy the drone with the goggles and all the different parts you need, like propellers and batteries and chargers. Because unlike other drones, it's all bought separately. You can pre-configure any part you want, and you can buy them separately and just choose the products you want to use. You don't have to use a specific charger. You don't have to use specific battery. They can be different. So it really gives you a lot of freedom to fine tune the things you want to use, depending on what type of needs you have, what type of flying you plan to do. So it's a really big world of different parts and companies and things you want to do, to learn before you invest your money into that, because there are so many choices. So I advise people to learn, to watch some YouTube videos, to see how other people are flying and what parts they use before they spend money, because in most cases they will need to spend more money to fix their mistake if they've done a mistake in the beginning. So it's better not to rush with picking the right parts, and just save you some money if possible.
So, the way I look at it, is that sort of the consumer drones, not FPV, those are for more entry level people who just want to fly, who are just starting to get into drones. Maybe I'm off. And then the FPV is probably like the next step, depending on,
Yeah, depending on what you want to achieve. But yeah, I consider it really like the next step, because it's an evolution from camera drones, because it takes a lot more skill. Not everyone can do it, I think. So it's really not for someone who is not ready to spend time for that, because most people, they want to get a drone, maybe go on vacation, just shoot some videos, and they have a nice memory from their vacation. And for that, camera drones are just amazing. You can't beat them for that. But if you're looking to get to the next level, maybe if you're working with creating videos, or if you're a filmmaker and you want to have an extra angle from the air, I believe FPV is the way to go compared to the regular camera drones, just because nowadays everyone has a camera drone, like I mentioned. So in order to make a difference in your footage and to make it look special compared to the rest of the people, I think this gives you a little bit of an edge, if you want to take it that way. I think it's the next step, like you said.
And do you think the FPV market is maybe it sort of caught the attention of the consumer market? I've heard rumors that DJI might be coming out with an FPV drone.
Yeah.
And so it kind of seems like, they're sort of, it's on the radar. And I don't know if DJI would make an FPV drone, but it seems like a logical next step. What do you think?
Yeah, they actually will. Well, we can't say that for sure, but there's so many leaks about an upcoming FPV drone from DJI. So I I know they're working on something because they see the potential, and of course they want a piece of the pie, and it's a huge market, and consumer companies, consumer camera drones are working on that. I'm sure not only DJI but also other companies, they will follow after, maybe after DJI releases their own FPV drone. I'm sure they will too, because they see the potential. They see that people are not, not satisfied with just the regular angle anymore. They need something more, and unfortunately, because of that, we'll also have stricter regulations because of how much more dangerous flying an FPV drone is compared to a regular camera drone. Because most FPV drones, unless you insist on putting a GPS module, they don't come with the GPS. So in case something bad happens to the drone itself, it would just fall like a brick from the sky, which is, very bad, obviously. But it's that makes it a lot harder for people to get into FPV and fly safely because of how unreliable it is in some situations. I had some occasions where I lost contact with my drone, and unless you have a GPS module, which is going to hopefully activate a return to home, because you can do that. You can configure it so it can return back to your home point. Unless you have that activated, it will just fall down wherever it is. And, that's unacceptable. So the more people start flying FPV, the worse the situation will be when it comes to rules and regulations, because it's just so dangerous.
Yeah, and the FPV drones kind of, in terms of weight, in terms of, the regulations right now are very focused on just sort of consumer drones, and the rules in a lot of countries that have rules, it's big drone, small drone, professional
Yeah.
drone, and, hobbyist. But FPV can kind of, because those drones can get pretty small. I mean, they can
Yeah.
sort of get around, but they can also be very fast, powerful. And like you said, is more chance of you crashing it into something or someone, or
Yeah.
it's going to be like the early days of drones
Absolutely.
again.
Yeah. Not everyone not knowing what they're doing and crashing into everything. Unfortunately, I think that that's what's going to happen, even though I really, really dislike this scenario. But I just think not many people are, well, not that many people, but not everyone is responsible enough. So you can't expect everyone to follow the rules, even though they have to. I think, unfortunately, we'll get into a situation where even if DJI releases a drone even more, that will happen. People will just crash into everything possible, and that will lead to some more strict rules, unfortunately. But that's I guess the evolution of things, and that's the way it has to go. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't like this possible scenario, but I kind of feel like that's coming very soon.
And I feel like drones now, the perception in the public has gotten better. So I think before people were like, "Oh, drone, you're just a terrible person." But now it's kind of like people have accepted it. They see a lot of drone footage. More people have drones. So like the reputation has gotten better, and now FPV is going to come in.
It's ready to crash down once again. Yeah, completely.
Thanks for watching that clip from the foXnoMad podcast. Like I mentioned, I'm going to leave a link to the full episode down in the description below. And while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll have new videos for you every week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.